Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly broadcast where we discuss everything and anything that has anything to do with search engine visibility and AI or LLM visibility. At this point, we usually discuss both because they overlap too much. And our strategy is always about elevating visibility in both. I don't think there is a separate way of looking at either of those at this point. I'm Anne Smarty. I have been an SEO for more than 20 years. In that time, I changed a lot of roles, a lot of companies, met a lot of great people, and also I have seen it all. So it is very exciting time to be an SEO at this point. I'm the co-founder of Smarty.marketing. We are a boutique SEO and GEO agency based in New York. With me today and always April, our director of social and also the most creative soul in our company. Always thankful to have her. She's not so much in SEO, but today she will be very much active because that's her area of expertise, being creative and being real. Before we start talking about today's topic, a few reminders. First of all, please subscribe in smarty.com. This is where I announce the topic of every week and also give some links, screenshots, tag people who I used as sources, and a lot of good stuff to give you even more insight into every week. We try to be very actionable. We try to be very on time with everything that's going on, so you will probably find it useful. Also, we host regular MAAs at our own subreddit. Please join SEO for AI and ask your questions. Today's guest is very much experienced SEO, but he is also seeing a lot of results from his GEO efforts for his company that he works for. So ask your questions, very specific one, everything you are curious about SEO for AI. This is your time to find personal answers from actual expert. Today's topic is interesting because we've been doing digital PR that is data driven for many years, and what we are finding at this point that it's a great transition for GEO as well, because it elevates everything. It's data driven research and studies. There was a research last week that I shared over at our SEO for AI subreddit as well. We are having regularly promoted and unique studies is direct correlation between going through Google updates untouched or even elevate your visibility in search. This means that if you come out with something that is worth linking, something unique and original, and you get all those signals, including brand mentions, links, shares, clicks, all of that fun stuff, Google likely trusts you more because you are able to weather down all those changes in SEO very well. And those consistent websites that haven't been losing organic search visibility within the past 12 months, many of them have that in common. They come up, they publish and market original research based on their unique data. And that is the tactic that we're going to discuss today, because guess what? We've been doing that for 15 years at this point, and not that it was our intent, but we also see those studies being cited by LLMs a lot, and not just cited, but attracting clicks. Because if you publish something original and those LLMs cite you, they will give you the credit. And that's where LLM visibility traffic traffic is coming from, but also we see increased overall LLM visibility for clients that do them on a regular basis. And my theory is that it's just LLMs hear about you more and more. They are more likely to remember you, and they're more likely to trust you as well. And hence the LLM visibility overall of a brand grows if you invest in those consistently. To be quite honest, we haven't been specifically optimizing for LLMs for our studies. That wasn't this strategy. It wasn't a GEO strategy. It's something we've been doing for clients for many years for SEO. But it's nice to see that LLMs also pick up on everything real, even if you don't use specific citability optimization tactics, which is something everyone is talking about at this point. By the way, I think we need at some point to discuss different types of citations. I'm a little overwhelmed by citation optimization noise at this point. Not many businesses or experts really understand how citations work, which is not surprising because there is no official insight into that. No LLM will tell us exactly where it finds and how it uses citations, but there is a ton of data and studies on that. So it's something we need to discuss. What I'm seeing with these specific citations when LLMs need to cite some data and give a source for that data is that it is not exactly they find them from brands directly. That directly correlates with organic visibility of that asset. So if it ranks well, LLMs will find and cite it. And that is from asset to asset. This is what we are seeing. I feel like it helps that we developing those studies always keep organic visibility in mind. We want them to rank. And sorry, I have to put the do not disturb, which I forgot to do. So it is something we are seeing from asset to asset. So part of our strategy, luckily, has always been about organic visibility of our clients' assets as well. And that directly results in LLM citability as well. So how do you create this studies and these original research assets? We refer to them PR, data-driven PR assets, because we reach out to journalists to get links and mentions to those specifically. So this is part of the PR offering. So how do you create them? Every case is very different. Whatever data you have, it always can be packaged in an interesting way. That could be seasonal trends, that could be favorite colors based on your customers' preferences every month and how that is changing. It could be moving in or out of the country based on what, I don't know, maybe you are selling airplane tickets, or you are a travel agent that has access to that data. Everything it's very the brainstorming part of it is by far the most important step there, because you cannot just do the same data every week or every month or every year and expect more and more visibility. It's all about finding something interesting and unique, and maybe even timeliness, like seasonality is also a great way to get topics that can be picked up by huge publications and social media as well. So the brainstorming, luckily, we have April, who is probably the best at the world at brainstorming unique angles and topics, and also researching for them as well. So we will definitely discuss that, dedicate some time to that. I also want to mention an old rule: build it and they will come. Never worked, and it doesn't work here. So brainstorming and creation is definitely the first fundamental step to the success. But also do not create more than you can promote in all kinds of meaningful ways, through packaging on social media, through journalist outreach, through Reddit, whatever channel you have. It needs to be very well amplified for the visibility of the asset. So the rule here is that not how many I need for the visibility, because it is something every other client is asking us, how many do I need to produce of this? And like, it's not the right question. It's how many you can promote. So it's not just invest all that time brainstorming and building something and then just leave it on your website without trying to get additional attention to it. This is counterproductive in my opinion. And also update. Some of our most successful assets are those that we are able to go back, find new data, and re-optimize based on the data that we already have from that year. So I can see keywords that are relevant, but we didn't think of using. I can optimize the copy much better. We can update the data. We can republish to the new date with everything more up to date, but the URL is going to be the same. So we are amplifying all those old signals that we were able to accumulate during the first or previous promotion. So this is another secret source for visibility as well. Don't try to create something new again and again. It's more about make sure that you are making the most of what you already have. This is very underused opportunity in most cases that I've seen, and yet it is one of the most effective ways to build the long-term visibility from your for your original status. April, I know you have a lot of questions. I also wanted to give you a little bit of time to talk about the brainstorming process. I know it's not something you can teach, because after this many years of doing that, it's just natural. You kind of look at the topic and you can't tell what may be doing better than other ideas, but suggest some tips to our watchers, followers, just for them to know where to start brainstorming. For example, it can be their own data for sure. It's the best way to go with their own data, but there are other ways as well, like surveys, collecting the data elsewhere, or even using the public data, or even overlapping your own data with something public, or combining different methods as well. Let us know where to start. Let's say someone is going to implement this strategy, digital PR strategy that is driven by data. Where could they start, except for asking us for help if they want to do that in-house?
Yeah, in your newsletter, you had like Ramp as an example, which is like a payment processor, and that might seem like pretty boring, and like there's no way you can have like a fun angle or unique angle there. That's absolutely not true. You just gotta step all the way back to like what the crux of it is like payments, money. So you could like if they have their own data, then you can look at their own data and see like what kind of things people are buying the most, and you can make it like regional. Like that's like a really good strategy, because that way you can like share it in like specific communities. Like you can do like most pop like which states spend the most on like that app, or I think it's an app, but which states spend the most on there, or like the categories that each state spends the most on, like besides like, because a lot of the time every state's going to have like the same category, like the same biggest category. So you can like step back a little further and see like, okay, so all the states are like pay all this, spend the most on this. So like, what's the second or third most thing that they spend on? Like that's when like things can start getting a little more interesting and be like influenced by like the region. So you can do something like that and use your own research. So definitely like state by state or like country by country things do really well, because then you can go into like the individual regional subreddits and be like, this is what this state buys the most on. Like, is this your experience? And that can like spark a discussion, and people will talk like, and then sometimes I'll make people angry, which is like the same as counterintuitive, but like people are really passionate, and that like drives a lot of discussion and a lot of sharing and everything. So yeah, like, and then you just so also another thing you can do with like a payment processing company would be like, I guess, just you don't have, I mean, if you don't have like the proprietary data, there's like so much data out there that you can like put together that would like go beyond like anything that's already exists. You can create like indexes of data, like let's say for example, um, this might be like really um, like an emotional thing, but like sometimes you just want to tap into like the human emotion part of it. Like you can do like which states are have like the best and worst at handling money, and like that seems like it could be like a subjective thing, but then you can just gather a bunch of different sources of information to create like an index. Like you can look at credit scores, you can look at like late payments, car pay, like late delinquent car payments, just various things that would fit into that would like create a comprehensive look at like which states are the best and worst at handling money. And of course that's gonna stir a lot of feathers. Is that the right phrase? That's gonna poke the bear, I guess. But like that's what you want. You want people to get to really talk about it, and that's like the kind of thing that like local news will pick up. They're like, hey, our state is one of the best at handling money, or our state's just really bad. And it's like just you just want to tap into those emotions and create like, and there's not like there will be other things out there that might address the same things, but it probably if you go above and beyond enough, and you get a lot of different data sets and create like a really like a thorough look at it and cover all your bases, and nothing out there will be just like yours. And that's what LLMs really love. They like whenever we create something like that, like almost immediately, like within a day or two, when we start like promoting it and stuff, within a day or two, it shows up in like the featured. I guess they're not called featured snippets anymore.
AI overviews.
But we also would get the featured snippets all the time too with these things. But now it's AI overviews because it's really original and emotional, and there's a lot of places you can share it. A lot of journalists will love that kind of thing. And like another way to find like ideas of what like human beings might be interested in is to like go to the relevant subreddits for like the topic that you want to explore with your brand and see what they're talking about there. And maybe there's like questions they have or like things that like pain points they have, and you can create something that like addresses those pain points. So just like, because LLMs are trying to get, like, LLMs aren't human beings, so they're trying to be like trying to like emulate human beings. So like that's by like providing human driven content to them that they love that stuff, and it helps them figure out like, oh, this is how to be human. Like not how to be human, but you know what I mean. Like they just love that stuff. They love like the original stuff that that's not out there already.
There is such a good point about LLMs that they imitate people. It's almost like we don't have to do something, create topics specifically for them.
Yeah.
They will pick up on what people like, and
Mm-hmm.
give them exactly what they need.
Mm-hmm.
There is no algorithm like we had with SEO when you need to do even keywords, or you needed to do something specifically for search engines, like fill in the disavowed file or something. Like
Mm-hmm.
there were quite a few things that we were doing and are still doing, and many of them we are still doing specifically for crawlers. LLMs, they're similar to people in two ways. They search, so elevating. So we still need to keep an eye on those bots and crawlers and search engine healthiness of the site. And they also learn what people like, and they do that exactly like we do from Google, from Reddit, from social media discussions. So they are trying to give people, and that's their goal, is to give people what they are liking. And when I started today, I mentioned that we don't do our digital PR, we don't take LLMs almost into account. We 100% target people, journalists, Reddit users, like real people, trying to understand emotionally what they would respond to, what they would find a unique, original enough, worth of sharing. And that brings LLM visibility. We don't do anything specifically. Maybe
Mhm.
the last the only thing that I can remember we started doing a little differently for our studies is that we started focusing more like on takeaways at the beginning
Mhm.
of the article itself that describes the data and the research. And it's not just for LLMs. We are finding people love those too, and you can make them shareable, like tweet to click to tweet. Things like that get more visibility and shares and better understanding of the findings. But definitely LLMs were the driving force between that format because we wanted to give them some easy to consume food. But that's probably the only one, the only thing that we started doing just a little differently. We did, there is no specific LLM research that
Right.
we are doing for our original studies for the clients, but they always become the most cited source for LLMs. I did share a few screenshots in my newsletter to show how how those do in LLMs with pretty much the zero LLM specific
Mhm.
optimization tactic that we would be using. We just create those for people, and they do very well in LLMs as well. I know
Yeah.
you had a couple of more um, questions, which I'm a little, a little uh, not focused there, but I forgot. Do you remember
Oh,
any
yeah.
any
Uh,
discussion points that we were
the
talking
first
about?
question I wrote down was, how do you come up with unique ideas for proprietary research?
That is actually a very. We still need to like give a little bit of input here from client to client what we are realizing, and we don't use original like proprietary. I will never learn to
It's,
pronounce
it's
that word.
not easy.
Yes, so it's that it doesn't. We don't always use it. We navigate different methods. Like April mentioned, we create complicated indices for data. We use regional surveys, but in most cases, what I'm saying is that businesses do have data, but they really even don't know they do. This is something, so if you want to come up with some original idea and use your own data, the best case scenario is that you go to other departments, let's say sales or customer support. They probably know a lot of things you do not know. Best first your contact your product development team. They are probably saving, or even your developer, depending if like if you're a platform and app, if you're selling digital, you have some sort of data saved already, and you don't have to. It will remain totally anonymous. You don't need any names, anything, but you will. There are probably some trends and some data that you really don't know exists. So with our clients, we usually have quite a few meetings before we find that one contact that really knows where the data is and what kind of data they can pull. And that is usually after that it's becoming much easier to go from update like every other month or every quarter or every year. We can come back to that person, and it becomes much easier, but it always takes some time for us to explore before we find the data. So my understanding is that not many businesses realize they sit on some quite unique and interesting data that can be repackaged into something awesome and make you the top of the conversation, the leader that everyone is discussing, even for a few weeks or months. It doesn't. It does age. In most cases, the only way to get consistent signals and mentions from those assets and studies is to get them ranking in Google. But before that happens, you will see a lot more things happening. And this is one thing, what the biggest benefit of becoming the source is to lead the conversations. This is when people cite you, mention you, you become the center of the conversation. And this is the best way to build the brand in a positive and neutral way. It's not they are discussing your products or your customer support, they're discussing data that you are producing, and it is usually the best way to get that word spread in a very positive way. I remember we had a couple of more questions. Maybe I can also, we can, couple more minutes to discuss
To
those.
kind of address this, why do you think proprietary assets perform so well on language learning models?
Yes, I think we addressed that a little bit, is because we for two main reasons. One can argue which one comes first because they are so interconnected. One is search engine visibility, and search engines love all those things because you send them lots of signals showing that those are being discussed, those are being linked, this is something interesting. So they usually start ranking and appearing in AI overviews within what, couple of days, especially if you plan well. So and the second reason is that people like and discuss them and engage with them. So LLMs want to give people what people like. This is their core goal. This is why they were created. They always want to please people, so they look for something that is being popular within among people. Which one comes first, I don't know, because the success in search engines is also very much dependent on how many people discuss it. So it's two, let's say, one reason overall, because one drives the other. Visibility is driven by organic search visibility, but also organic search visibility is driven by people discussing it as well. So there is no, it's almost like discussing which comes first, an egg or a chicken or whatever. And so you cannot really tell, but those two definitely define LLM success of the assets, because they want to give people what people will be excited about and what also fits in their answers very well. Usually anything statistical makes to LLM's answers, even if people do not ask about statistics, but they ask some very vague prompt that does may just have something to do with the topic, but they LLMs will try to find statistical or statistical data or any recent studies on that topic to give more context to people. Not in all prompts, of course. All prompts are all created differently, but this is usually something they feel like adding to the research and when answering questions. One interesting study that we also saw an outcome of those. Sometimes after 3-4 months of promotion, we see new articles and actually on very good publications referencing this study. And one of a few times I go and try to find where that journalist or blogger finds that study, and I find that the URL comes from ChatGPT. So what happens is a journalist goes to ChatGPT, says, "Write me an article about that," and ChatGPT writes an article and, of course, finds recent studies, statistics, and includes our links in the article. And then those creators use that content on pretty big publications. I was a little surprised. There are probably a lot of editing that comes into that. It's just they do not remove the real ChatGPT from URL, but I was wondering that, curious how much of a trend it is going to be. It's not new for sure. A lot of people find 404 links coming to their website, and that's when ChatGPT hallucinates references and people just copy paste those articles on their website. So
Mhm.
it's another interesting visibility channel. Not that we were looking for it, but it's interesting that it adds to kind of evergreen visibility of the
Mhm.
asset, because then anyone using ChatGPT to write the article or even research the outline for the article, those links will come up there as well. So we get more backlinks and more brand mentions through that. Not something we expected or optimized for again. But anyways, check out nsmarter.com with some examples and more data that we were mentioning today. Subscribe, join our subreddit. There are so many avenues to kind of keep track of us. Not intentional, just trying um, to do what we can. Next Wednesday, join us. I hope to get a guest next week to discuss something interesting and get more observations on the LLM visibility or SEO. Hopefully, that will work out. I will announce the topic over at my newsletter. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, April, for great insights into how those things work. And see you next week. Bye bye. Have a great
All right,
week,
well,
everyone. Bye.